Hey everybody, it's me, LisaT, coming at you with some positive energy. Oh my god, I'm so nervous because I haven't done a live video since February, I think, or something. Yeah, months. Anyways, it's been months. So anyways, I am doing The Language of Letting Go by Beattie, and I'm going to continue on where I left off last year. So if you're following along with these videos, I ended off on June 21st. I didn't make any videos after that. So we have from June until December 31st to do. So I'm going to do June 22nd today because I upload these to my YouTube channel as well. And I share those readings with people I help in recovery. So I need to be a couple of days in advance so that I can get everything uploaded to YouTube so I can stay on track on that platform. So here we go. The Language of Letting Go by Beattie with me, LisaT, coming at you with some positive energy. So we are reading June 22. I know it's not June 22, but we're reading June 22. Oh, there we are right there. Okay, so June 22 is learning to trust again. And I always love how these videos parallel, or these readings parallel my life. I'm learning to trust again, trust in this process, trust in the tools that bring me joy and happiness, trust in this journey of self-love, and trust that all is okay and I am okay just as I am. So July, pooey, delete, cancel. That was July 22, June 22. There we go, June 22. Okay. Oh, it's a big long one, sure enough. Okay. June 22. Work histories. So I guess I had to read that other thing just to say what I said. Okay. Work histories, June 22. Just as we have relationship histories, most of us have work histories. Just as we have a present circumstance to accept and deal with in our relationship life, we also have a present circumstance to deal with and accept in our work life. Just as we develop a healthy attitude towards our relationship history, one that will help us learn and move forward, we can develop a healthy attitude towards our work history. I have a friend that needs this specifically right now, I think, anyways. So yeah, I think, in general, what those first couple paragraphs are saying is learning to accept our past, whether it's, work ties into financial, ties into accomplishment, ties into a bunch of different feelings and attributes that we attach onto our life experience. So work is very important along with relationship history, and to accept what has happened, to enjoy and appreciate and have gratitude for the journey you've had along with your relationships or with your work life. I know I've had a gazillion jobs and worked in a gazillion places over my work experience, and where I'm at now, I can stand and look back and appreciate every single one of them for the step that they were to bring me to where I am today. And so we're looking at, maybe it's easier to look at your work history and accept that first, and then you can accept all the relationship pieces. I'm not sure where this is leading, but let's see. Okay, I have worked many jobs in my life. There we go. It's like it's me talking. I have worked many jobs in my life since I was 11 years old. Just as I have learned many things about myself through relationships, I have learned many lessons through my work. I don't read these before I read them with you. This is cool. So just as I've learned many things about myself through relationships, I have learned many lessons through my work as well. Often these lessons run parallel to the lessons I'm learning in other areas of my life. Situations that are coming up that you find any kind of struggle with, if you're anything like me and you come to the realization that it's all for learning and growing, and it's all for higher good, for lessons for you to help evolve yourself. So I can see that these days. I can see that a relationship at work is happening so that I can flatline that across everything in my life, a lesson for everything in my life. A situation that I'm struggling with a family member, if these days I can parallel that to something that I need to resolve within myself for my own self-concept. So everything starts to help each other, all aspects of your life. So these lessons run parallel to the lessons I'm learning in other areas of my life. I have worked at jobs I hated but was temporarily dependent on. I have gotten stuck in jobs because I was afraid to strike out on my own and find the next set of circumstances. Now you could put relationships in the place of jobs there. I have been in many relationships that I hated but was temporarily dependent on. I have gotten stuck in relationships because I was afraid to strike out on my own and find my next set of circumstances. Okay. I have been in some jobs to develop skills. I have been in some relationships to develop the skill of learning what I want or what I don't want. I have been in some jobs to develop skills. Sometimes I didn't know I was developing those skills until later on when they became an important part of the career of my choice. I've often said, life is lived in the moment, but understood in hindsight. We live it in the moment and then understand it later. And we go through moments and maybe find a struggle in it, or we can't see the lesson in it at the time. And then months go by, you're like, oh, that's why that happened. So I could get to here now. So I could learn something there that's going to come in handy now. It's a really good mindset to start developing and nourishing, because it helps. Well, this is what happens for me. As I develop and nourish that kind of mindset, then no matter what comes my way, I can see it for higher good. And that's a much more peaceful state of mind to be in. So sometimes I didn't know I was developing those skills until later on when they became an important part of my career of my choice. I have worked at jobs where I have felt victimized. I've been in relationships where I felt victimized. Where I have felt I've worked at jobs where I felt victimized, where I felt like I gave and received nothing in return, right? I have been in relationships where I manufactured similar feelings. There you go. I have worked at some jobs that have taught me what I absolutely didn't want. Others sparked in me the idea of what I really did want and deserve in my career or relationships. Some of my jobs have helped me develop my character. Others have helped me fine-tune my skills. They have all been a place to practice recovery behavior. Amen. Just as I have had to deal with my feelings and messages about myself in relationships, I had to deal with my feelings and messages about myself and what I believed I deserved at work. Just as I have needed to clear the wreckage of feelings about my past relationships, I have needed to finish my business with work and careers internally. I have been through 2 major career changes in my life. I learned that neither career was a mistake and no job was wasted time. Nothing has been a mistake. Nothing has been a waste of time. It's all been a process and a step to get you to where you are today. If you're on the recovery journey, then you can say an amen to that, because where we are today is an evolved human being who's learning and growing and has more insight and more perspective and more self-love and a happier, healthier attitude about life. What's wrong with that? It's awesome. Neither was a mistake or a waste of time. I have learned something from each job, and my work history has helped me create who I am. Everything has helped you create who you are today in this now moment. Hi, Richard. I learned something else. There was a plan, and I was being led. We are being led. If you are open and like you have a childlike wonder for life and the next thing, and you're looking out in the world, then you can see that it's all there's a higher plan. There's a greater good. There's something somewhere where I'm being led. I know that for myself definitely in this last 6 years. Each year there's a more abundance and more miracles and more to my life, and that also comes with moments of deep pain, because I've had to push through and recover from this kind of thinking and stuff from the past. So so everything what I wanted and what felt right created who I am. I learned something else. There was a plan and I was being led. The more I trusted my instincts, what I needed and what felt right, the more I felt that I was being led. I was talking to a friend the other day. I'm really learning to trust my gut just in the last 6 months, year. Really learning to trust that gut. Really learning to trust that I'm being led somewhere. Really learning to trust it's this deep faith that I'm developing. The more I refused to lose my soul to a job and worked at it because I wanted to and not for the paycheck, the less victimized I felt by any career. even those jobs that paid a meager salary. The more I set goals and took responsibility for achieving the career I wanted, the more I could decide whether a particular job fit into the scheme of things for me. So setting goals and taking responsibility helps you then make better decisions to say, is this right for me? And then make a right decision for yourself if shit ain't working. Okay? I could understand why I was working at a particular job and how that was going to benefit me. So now it's about flipping the script. It's about flipping your perspective, and you start to be able to see things in a different way. And that helps you then propel yourself forward. There are times I have panicked at work about where I was in my employment history. Panic never helped. And as I've talked about in other videos, when we go into panic mode, what happens is the frontal lobe of your brain, which is your thought process, your problem solving, that shuts off if you go into panic, and you go into survival mode, and you go into the amygdala, which is somewhere in the middle there, if I could put my hand in the middle of my head, and the emotional center, and we go into fight or flight, and so we're not thinking about rational thoughts, we're not thinking problem solving skills, we're just in survival mode, fight or flight, and we're in panic mode. And so it's not a good place to be, because you can't think. That's like the plane is going down, do not panic. Panic never helped. Trust and working on my program did. There were times I looked around and wondered why I was where I was. There were times people thought I should be someplace different. But when I looked into myself and at God, I knew I was in the right place for the moment. Look into yourself. There's a higher power within you. That higher power is in you. We get clouded, we get bunged up with all these negative beliefs or negative messages that we receive. And this is what this work does. It clears all that out so that there's no blockage to that deep higher self power inside of you. It's in you. God is within you. Woo! I knew I was in the right place for that moment. There were times I didn't get the promotion that I wanted. There were times I refused a promotion because it didn't feel right. Trust that gut. There are times I have had to quit a job and walk away in order to be true to myself. Sometimes that was frightening. Sometimes I felt like a failure. That's okay. Fail forward. Failure. So the successful people in this universe, in this world, the most successful people have failed the most times. Sometimes that was frightening. Sometimes I felt like a failure, but I learned this. If I was working my program and being true to myself, I never had to fear where I was being led. No fear, only love. Almost done here, guys. There have been many times I couldn't survive on the small amount of money that I was receiving. Instead of bringing that issue to a particular employer and making it his or her fault, I have had to learn to bring the issue to myself and my higher power. I've learned I'm responsible for setting my boundaries and establishing what I believe and I deserve. I'm responsible. I am responsible. I am responsible to decide what I believe, what I deserve. It's up to me. The world is not going to show me what I deserve. I have to make a decision about what I deserve and then go through that. I've also learned about God. I've also learned God, not a particular employer, is my source of guidance. God is my source of guidance, not this friend, not that aunt, not that employer, God. And again, that is when you get through all the muck, that's within you. That's your own higher true self as well. Source of guidance. I've learned that I'm not stuck or trapped in a job or relationship, no more than I am in a relationship. I have choices. I may not be able to see them clearly right now, but I do have choices. These are things we need to say to ourselves. I have choices. I have choices. I can make it. I have options. If you're like me, then I think every human being these days has some sort of trauma. And what happens when we have a trauma moment back in the past, we kind of get stuck there. And in the past, usually in childhood, we didn't have choices. We're adults now. We can be responsible for ourselves, and we have choices and options, but we have to remind ourselves of that. Because if you're in the panic mode, like I was just talking about, you're not thinking clearly, and you think, fuck, and you think you don't have choices, but you do. You have choices. I am responsible for my choices, and I do have choices. Above all else, I've learned to accept and trust my present circumstances at work or in relationship. That does not mean to submit. It does not mean to forgo boundaries, but it means to trust accept, acceptance, accept. It means to trust, accept, and then take care of myself the best I'm able to on any given day. It is up to you, and you can do it, and you have choices, and you are loved, you are lovable, and you are worthy, and you are valuable, and you can make a difference for yourself in your life. It's up to you. Take responsibility. Okay, here is your prayer for today. Just a little one. Big reading and a little prayer. Here we go. God, help me bring my recovery behaviors to my career affairs, and may I ad-lib, and all my affairs. God, help me bring my recovery behaviors to my career affairs and all my affairs. Amen. Thanks for watching. Love you all.